And good morning. Welcome to another special edition of the Out and About Show here on 1590 KVGB and 97.7 FM. Focus on Stafford County. Steve Webster with you. Joined in the studio today, we do have a full studio. That is good. Except Carolyn Dunn, Stafford County Economic Development Director, is on the sidelines today. She's not with us. But in for the show today is Program Director Ashley Bevan. Glad you could make the trip up here today. Also joining us is the Mayor of Stafford, Julie Lyon, and the St. John City Clerk, Jamie Getty.
Thank you for having me.
Well, thanks for coming in here today. We've got an interesting topic today, and we're going to be talking about land banks and why they're important and some of the things behind thinking about land banks and how they can be an opportunity for areas like Stafford County. But before we get to that, I want to talk to you, Ashley, because last time you were in here, you got me all excited because I like the young professionals, Barton County young professionals. They've really infused a lot of energy. We've seen the what has happened because of that. We have a lot of young people getting into government, a lot of civic organizations, things like that. There's a lot of energy about it. Well, we have a group starting down in Stafford County.
We do.
You were just, it's kind of in the infancy stage now. So I wanted to get an update on how that's going right now.
Yeah, so we have kind of like a grassroots effort. It's not a real formal thing. We don't have bylaws for our organization, but there were a handful of us that decided to start a group in Stafford County. And we actually had our second event just this past Tuesday over in Stafford. We're trying to rotate it around the county, hit different businesses, get different sponsorships. Tuesday, we were at the Gathering Place on Main Street in Stafford. Jan made us some wraps and pasta salad and some homemade cookies. And we had a presentation from our K-State Research and Extension Office on Operation Red File, so advanced directives. You're a living will. Do you sign a DNR? So that was a good presentation. Then we ate and played catchphrase, I think it was.
Yep.
Just kind of a loose structure. I mean, really no structure to it. Just come, have fun, chat, network. And then following that, we went down to the Stafford Motor Inn and kind of hung out in the lobby for a while. I ended up leaving far later than I wanted to on a Tuesday night, but it was fun and the conversation was good. So I appreciated Julie letting us hang out in the lobby there.
Yeah, so I guess Jamie and Julie, you guys are both charter members as well, right?
We are.
Yeah.
Have you been getting good response, though? I mean, getting the word out?
We have about 15 people that have come to both of them, and about 6 of us are the ones that, like I said, kind of started the group, and I think we'll continue to kind of be the roots of it. But I think it's just getting the word out and people realizing what it is, once they attend. Because we had a couple new faces Tuesday, then it can go to the one in St. John back in November. Mm-hmm. We plan to have our next one in June, kind of do like a quarterly thing for now. I'm looking at doing that one in Maxville. I need to talk to some business owners. I have a place in mind, but need to talk to them first. But I think that's where we'll have our next one in June.
Where can people find out more about the landing page or to get more information?
We have a Facebook page,
okay.
So Young Professionals of Stafford County. That's the best place to find information right now. And then once you come to an event, I have an email to use for you. And I try to send out emails when we have stuff coming up. So.
Okay, there's a lot of, when you start something like that, there's a lot of energy, there's a lot of ideas going around. What are some of the things like that you guys want to accomplish with this organization in Stafford County? One, it's a fun group. You get to meet people of your age. You don't have the Stafford County old professionals yet, which I'm wanting to see that started in Barton County. What are some of your goals for this group, guys?
Well, one of the things I think is networking has been the best thing, because even though we all live in the same county, we don't necessarily know each other. Some work out of town. You may be familiar with the name, but not the face. And something that's been really neat that we've done both times now that we've met is gone and toured an actual business after our initial gathering. So we went and learned about Ag 360 and Farm Bureau insurance. And then I gave them tours of the motel rooms so they understood what they have in their community that they maybe not would have known before. So it's been a good educational process as well.
Jamie, you got any things in mind here early in this organization?
Ashley and I have actually spoke a little bit about, we don't want to make it a work group, but we've talked about maybe have the possibility of finding just community projects that need done and see if people are willing to step up and volunteer to help get some of the stuff looking a little bit better and cleaned up. So
great effort, guys, and we'll be following. I want an update every time on what's going on with this. Okay, today we're going to be talking about land banks. With us, Stafford Mayor Julie Lyon and St. John City Clerk Jamie Getty. Now, From what I understand from my correspondence today, let's see, St. John has a land bank. Stafford considering creating one right now. So let's just get to the explanations here. I've heard, you hear federal land bank and things like that. What is a land bank, guys? A good overview of what we're talking about here.
When we're talking about land banks, we're going to be talking about a nonprofit entity that is under the umbrella of city government. So it can be either a board of trustees that's been appointed, or it can actually be city council members. So there's some flexibility in there to whatever's going to fit your community. But it's really focused on converting vacant, abandoned, tax delinquent properties into something that is going to be more productive and get it back on the market or on the tax roll. So,
Jamie, how long have we had this in St. John?
The St. John Land Bank was actually adopted December 30th of 14. I've only been with the city for 2 years, so
Okay.
I'm not for sure how much has actually gone on, but it is a project that I am actively pursuing going forward. It's high on my list of things to do, so I've started looking into it a little bit more and see our options. And
What are some of those options? That obviously options and turning abandoned property into something productive in the community. But what are some of the options that you have as a local government?
they have the ability, small towns, I'm sure even some of our larger communities have those houses that, we have several in our community that are owned by out-of-state people. They may come to the property once a year. It's being neglected, and we have the opportunity to allow them, I guess, to donate their property to the land bank, and then the city there then can decide what to do with it afterwards. And I believe that there's an application that you can fill out if you want to acquire that property, with the stipulations of several things, moving forward with making sure that it's improving the neighborhood, and you're not going to just be able to buy it and let it sit there and be a blight as well.
Yeah, how's that process work? You can identify some of these. Obviously, some of them are on tax sales and things like that every year. And is that something that there's some entity that reaches out to these property owners and say, hey, look, this is maybe an option for you?
I'm not positive on that. I do know my view, I guess my process, what I'm going to begin to do is go around the community and look at some of those houses that have been sitting empty since I've been around, and just try to get those conversations going and offer them that option of donating their house or land to the land bank, and seeing if we can get something going with that, just improving what we have.
Julie, what are the discussions right now? How far along are you in Stafford considering a land bank for the city of Stafford?
My ordinance will actually be passed on April 8th. So we've got the framework aligned with the state statute for land banks. But speaking to the acquisition of them, there's actually several ways that properties can be acquired. It can be either purchased from an individual, like they don't live there, or maybe had bought it with good intentions and don't have the funds to do that. Sometimes it's nice to have somebody come in and rescue you from a situation that you got in over your head. They can be acquired through the tax sale process, through donations. If somebody passes away and the family is out of town, they can donate the property to the land bank. So it kind of works as a catchment place for properties that need help or need some sort of work. It's also good for those that have title issues with, something that didn't go through probate but doesn't have a clean title. The land bank can actually help clean that up.
Talk about the organization again, if you could. Just kind of what's the structure with this?
So it's very fluid, and that's what the land bank in Stafford will look different than the land bank in St. John, because it's going to be able to be customized basically for your community. So if you have abandoned houses that are blighted, or if you have commercial properties that you want to invest in your downtown, it can really be structured however your town needs it best. And that's what we're seeing, not just here in Stafford County, but across rural Kansas especially. A lot of the bigger cities in Kansas do have some sort of land bank establishment where they will collect vacant properties. Empty lots specifically is what a lot of them have been. I see ours here in Stafford County being more residential.
Okay, now when I think land bank, so you accumulate this property. Now, who would be the owner of that property? When you start, would it be the city or this or the land bank itself?
It's actually a separate entity than
Okay.
the city. So the land bank itself, and it would either be it'll be the board of trustees that holds these properties. In St. John, the city council is the board of trustees. In Stafford, we're going to have a board of trustees out of the community. So it'll actually be community members making decisions on what is best for their community.
Stafford Mayor Julie Lyon with us, and City Clerk Jamie Getty from St. John. What are some of the frequently asked questions that people ask you about when you say, well, land bank, what are we doing here? The city's trying to take up all our property in this town. They're going to control everything.
That's the first one. Are you going to try to take my property from me?
Well, I grew up in a small town. I don't know how this works. So
Yeah, and that's not actually the case. There's no way to force this on anybody. So, like I said, there's the option to purchase if they want, but we're not going to come in and take people's properties. It would just be a tool to use in the community to help community look better, maybe it be more attractive. When I first started thinking about it, I was thinking about my empty buildings on Main Street in Stafford. And wouldn't it be nice if we had some way to acquire, 4 or 5 different buildings of 4 or 5 different sizes, fix them up to where it wasn't a burden for a business to come in and think, oh my gosh, I have to start from scratch here. I'm going to have to invest, $50,000 into renovations of a building before I even start a business. It just makes it not very profitable. If we had a way to renovate some of these properties, hold them, and then rent them or sell them after they were renovated, it would be a lot easier to attract a business and say, hey, we have 1,000 square feet, 1,500 square feet, 2,000 square feet, this price, or this price. And the land bank was one of the ways that I identified that we'd be able to do that.
So you're going around and saying, okay, well, that's land bank. That's kind of interesting. Did you get in touch with your neighbors to the west and kind of found out what's going on over in St. John with this?
I've been networking not just with St. John because I like the ordinance that they have in place, but really across rural Kansas from
Well, you
all
can
the way
say
down.
Great Bend's one of those too. I mean,
Yeah.
I think every community has.
Hutchinson has a well-established land bank. Fort Scott just started one. The city of Belleville is in the process of making one. So a lot of communities of different sizes, and I anticipate they're all going to be used differently, but this is seeming to be a hot topic, at the meetings that I go to across the state of Kansas, and the interest that's been generated from some of us that are working really hard and grasping the concept of it and thinking that it's going to be a successful tool.
How hard a sell was it in Stafford? Once you were able to explain everything that you've been kind of laying out for us today.
Yeah, I don't think it's been a hard sell. I probably could have had the ordinance passed already, but I really wanted my community to understand what it was, how it worked, what the process would be, and be very transparent with everything. So everybody in my community understands we're not just going to come in and take over properties. So I launched the idea in December and had a town hall meeting about it, have included letters in the utility bills so people understand what it is, and talked about it at city council meetings. So there's been a lot of opportunity for people to learn about the land bank, and I feel like people understand now.
Jamie, and you said you've been a city clerk for 2 years now, so then this was started in 2014. What's been the feedback in St. John with the land bank there?
I think informing and educating, like Julie just said, I'm not aware of what was done before me.
Sure. So I won't ask you any more history questions on this.
Right.
But
I think that going forward, that's going to be a lot of what we need to do is, if it wasn't done, educate them on how the process works and just get the word out that we actually have that. And it is a tool that we can use for our community to, not only clean up and make look better and want people to come into our community, but have options for housing and growth for all of Stafford County, really.
do you know how much property that's part of the St. John Land Bank right now?
I do know that there was a project before I came and I helped acquire another property since I've been there. She donated it, and that's really been the only project so far. But it's like I said, high on the list, and we're gonna hope to continue that. I have information going out to Arizona, I think, here soon. So
This is one of the great things about a land bank is if you don't use it, you're not out anything. So there's really no harm in having something established and having the option. If you don't use it or if it's not utilized fully, I think that's where you're seeing a lot of places around Kansas that aren't utilizing it to its full capacity because there's not a lot of understanding of how it could be used. It could really be used as a property development tool, but it would take a lot of time and a lot of effort. So at least having the ordinance established and being able to take properties if somebody were to offer it is a big step.
Ashley, is the Stafford County Economic Development, are you part of this at all, or is something like this could work for one of the housing things that we've had in Maxville and Stafford?
Yeah, I can't say that we've been directly involved, but of course we try to go to city council meetings and try to be a partner in what they're doing, because housing's always an issue. I mean, that's always something that economic development's trying to work on. So if we have other partners in this to get it done, it's super helpful to our organization. I don't know how, in the future the partnership will continue. I mean, we're more than willing to help with housing development. I mean, we'll have our own projects still, but again, this is just a tool for our communities to utilize to get the blight out of town. So
I saw one of the things was, these properties could be leased also for maybe a certain period of time.
They can, and that's where it's really up to the individual community on what is going to work best for them. If they need to hold 4 properties and lease them for a period of time to attract businesses or attract people into the community, there would always be the option to sell at a later date, or they could just hang on to it, and that's part of their revenue stream. They can be funded in multiple ways as well. So when we talk about them being very fluid, they qualify for grants. So you are able to apply where like a city wouldn't be. This is going to be a separate thing. So they would, qualify for grants. They can take donations. Legacy gifts would be great for the future of land banks. Or the city is able to divert funds and actually fund the land bank itself.
And then what would those funds be used for by a land bank per se for some of their expenses? What would some of those expenses possibly be?
When I think specifically of instance, I can think of a house that was donated, needed a new water heater, a new roof, some new drywall, but the bones of the house were good and the structure was good. It just needed some TLC. If the land bank acquired it for little to nothing, and let's say they invested, I'm just going to say $10,000 because that's easy, and then made it where it was a safe structure, something that would be move-in ready for a family that didn't require a lot of upfront cost or renovation, and then turn around and sold the property for $20,000 or $25,000. In some of these small communities, those are real numbers, and you could then take the profits from that, reinvest it into the land bank, and then turn around and do it again.
Would that same process kind of be like if you were talking about downtown Stafford for commercial properties and things like that?
I see it being that way, yeah. And as far as economic development, it's nice to have a great relationship with them, but as a community, you can't stand idly by and wait for somebody to come in and fix your problems. So this is a tool for my community to take ownership of what we have going. And we have a housing issue in Stafford. So I have houses that are for sale for $2,000 and houses that are for sale for $90,000 and not a lot of in between. So when you're looking to attract new teachers, new business members and stuff, it's hard when you don't have adequate housing for them to even look at.
And we're appreciative of that because, you look back a couple years ago and we utilized some grant funding to build a new house in Stafford. But, that the price point that it was at, it doesn't fit our whole market. We have very low income individuals that still need housing, whether it's rental housing or they want to own it. But I mean, we can do projects like that, but we're not getting grants every day either to go in and renovate houses like the land bank can do. I mean, we did that with the house in Hudson and easily spent twice our budget that we had on it. And so we do get that question a lot. Well, why aren't you renovating houses that are currently standing? Why aren't you investing in those? Well, we have a budget just like everybody else does. And like we've experienced, we budgeted an amount on a house in Hudson and ended up doubling it. And that's not a bad thing, but we won't get our money back out of it. I'll put it that way.
Mm-hmm. Julie, how excited are you about getting this thing rolling?
Well, I'm over the moon. Like I have been ready and working on this project for over a year, and I keep thinking to myself, and I even slowed the process down. As I said, I could have probably pushed it forward and had the ordinance passed already, but I keep thinking of the saying, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And I don't want this to be a project that is linked to me. It needs to be a community project where everybody is aware. So if I'm no longer the mayor, the projects will continue and people will see that there's value in that and have the ownership in it. It's not going to be just Julie's project. It needs to be, Stafford's way of actually taking back their community.
Yeah, and Jamie, I can see you over there. You got all these ideas as well that you're excited about this too.
Correct. Yeah, that it was actually on the forefront when I first got hired. I drove around with the current mayor and we labeled some properties and we really did a first round. And in that first round, we hit a few obstacles. It's a lot more difficult, I think, than people give us credit for. So we're moving slow, but we're moving forward.
Julie Lyons, Stafford Mayor, with us today. How's a girl from Nashville get to become mayor of Stafford?
I moved into the community about 3.5 years ago and was working on my business project, and then realized that when I started, being a member of the community and feeling like a member of the community, I wanted to get more involved. So
it's just awesome. See, young people getting involved.
Yeah.
You too, Bevan. Good job.
Thanks.
Ashley Bevan joining us today, Program Director of Stafford County Economic Development, Stafford Mayor Julie Lyon, and St. John City Clerk Jamie Getty. Guys, thanks for coming in today and keep up the good work.
Thanks,
Thank
Steve.
you.
Thank
That's
you.
our show today. Stay tuned. Coming up, we'll have the Noon Report with Cole Rife. Sports Day today at 12:25 here on the Mighty 1590 KVGB. Great Ben.